China's Xi calls them private entrepreneur to drive China's economic growth. Egyptian president inaugurates 8th edition of Egypt in Cairo. And Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak says that OPEC Plus not considering delay to planned oil supply increasing starting in April. Welcome to the Qnews Economic Bulletin, where we bring you the latest developments shaping the global economy. From key market trends and financial updates to regional economic highlights and forecasts, we provide essential news and analysis to keep you informed. Welcome back. We start off with Asia, as Chinese President Xi Jinping has urged private entrepreneurs to show their talents in a new era for China's economy, emphasizing government support for the private sector. Speaking at a closed-door symposium, Xi pledged to address financial challenges, irregular burdens and business confidence issues, while stressing the importance of tech innovation. The meeting comes as China grapples with weak domestic demand and rising U.S. trade restrictions. Meanwhile, lawmakers are reviewing the country's first basic law on private sector growth, highlighting its crucial role in GDP and employment.
胸怀报国志，一心谋发展，守法善经营，先富促共富，为推进中国式现代化做出。
Government data has shown that Japan's economy expanded an annualized 2.8% in October-December quarter. The data revealed that the expansion is faster than a median market forecast for a 1% increase. The rise in gross domestic product translated into a quarterly increase of 0.7%, better than the median estimate of 0.3% uptick. Moving on to Hong Kong, which has addressed questions about using cryptocurrencies as proof of wealth for its investments immigration scheme, following reports that the Bitcoin and other were accepted in 2 cases. While crypto is not an approved investment asset under the new capital investment intern scheme, officials stated there are no specific requirements, no asset classes for providing wealth. The scheme requires applicants to hold at least 30 million Hong Kong dollar in assets before investing in approved sectors to gain residency. Singapore's non-oil domestic exports fell by 2.1% in January compared to the same month last year. The decline was driven by a drop in non-electronic exports. This followed a 9% increase in December 2024. Enterprise in Singapore noted that while exports to Hong Kong, the United States and Taiwan increased in January, shipments to China, the European Union and Indonesia declined. Moving to Europe, Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey has expressed optimism about the slowing pace of inflation, stating that an expected rise in price growth later this year is unlikely to lead to long-term inflationary pressures. He also attributed part of the forecasted inflation increase to regulate price hikes for items like domestic energy and water, while noting that the sluggish economy would likely counteract inflation. He emphasized that recent data showing 0.1% economic growth in the fourth quarter did not alert the broader economic outlook. He also reiterated his belief that the U.S. trade tariffs could have mixed effects on British inflation, depending on the global economic impact.
Low and stable inflation is the foundation of a healthy economy.
The United Kingdom government has announced a £2.5 billion support package to protect Britain's steel industry amid looming US trade tariffs. The plan includes measures to tackle high electricity costs and safeguard the sector from unfair trading practices. The move follows US President Donald Trump's decision to impose 25% tariffs on steel and aluminium imports from March 12th, a step the United Kingdom's steel industry body warns could be devastating. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's administration is engaging with Washington to address the issue. A survey by the German Association of Cities has revealed that most Germany's cities are grappling with severe financial difficulties, with only a fraction able to present balanced budgets this year. The findings come less than a week before a pivotal federal election, where the slugging economy has emerged as a top concern for voters. The survey highlights that 37% of major German cities are unable to balance their budgets, while 47% are relying on reserves to stay afloat. Just 2% of cities express optimism about their financial outlook for the next 5 years, a stark decline from 64% over the past half-decade. Moreover, Bundesbank president has warned that Germany's economy could suffer a 1.5% point hit by 2027 due to potential US trade tariffs. He urged that while the United States aims to protect domestic industry, the tariffs would also harm the American economy, outweighing any benefits. Italy's central bank chief echoed concerns, warning that global gross domestic product could shrink by 1.5% points if Trump's tariff plans trigger the retaliatory measures. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has inaugurated the 8th edition of the Egypt Energy Show Egypt's 2025 conference and exhibition in Cairo. Egypt's 2025, taking place from the 17th to the 19th of February in Cairo, explores how Egypt, positioned at the crossroads of Africa and the Mediterranean, is leading the way in sustainable energy transformation. The conference comes under the theme of building a secure and sustainable energy future. Cypriot President Nikos is attending the event. President Fattah el-Sisi and his Cypriot counterpart have witnessed the signing of the first two agreements between the two countries to commence the development of Cyprus natural gas discoveries utilizing Egyptian infrastructure. The two agreements align with the Egyptian Ministry of Petroleum strategy to transform Egypt into a regional hub for natural gas trade and distribution. This will be achieved by receiving gas produced from Eastern Mediterranean discoveries, directing it to the local market, and re-exporting it to Europe. The agreements were signed by Petroleum Minister Karim Badawi with the Italian company Eni and the global company Chevron for exploration and production activities. Cypriot energy minister has expressed his hope that Cypriot gas will be transported to Egypt by the first half of 2027 on the sidelines of his participation in the inauguration of the Egyptian International Energy Conference. He emphasized that the agreements to transport Cypriot gas to Egypt are historic for Cyprus. He added that reserves in the Afroid field are approximately 4 trillion cubic feet, while the Crohn's field holds slightly less than 4 trillion cubic feet.
The 8th edition of the Egypt Energy Show, Egypt's 2025, is now underway under the patronage of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, bringing together global energy leaders. Held under the theme Building a Secure and Sustainable Energy Future, the event features the participation of Cypriot President Nikos Christodoulidis, alongside energy ministers from several countries. As a key platform for discussing energy security and sustainability, the event is witnessing the signing of major agreements to strengthen regional cooperation in natural gas. Egypt, as an energy hub, is leveraging its infrastructure to re-export Cypriot gas, creating economic opportunities for both nations and global investors. With 500 exhibiting companies and 47,000 industry professionals, Egypt's 2025 is cementing its status as a leading global energy gathering. Top oil and gas giants including Shell, Chevron, Total Energies, ExxonMobil, and Eni are actively engaging in discussions on the just energy transition, carbon emissions reduction, and green hydrogen, reinforcing Egypt's role in shaping the future of global energy.
Joining us from Cairo is managing editor of Al Ahram newspaper, Mr. Mohammed Izzeddin, to discuss the activities of Egypt's Energy Show, Egypt's 2025, and its impact on the energy sector. Welcome to Qnews Economic Bulletin, sir. Sir, how does Egypt's 2025 contribute to shaping the future of global energy markets?
Thanks for having me. There are great work being exerted in the past years, starting by the maritime demarcation agreement that give Egypt a good and a strong momentum to extract the natural gas and to engage with the world cooperation. There are several corporations in the world that participate in building in the gas fields, and there is a great approachment of the company to participate in the world bids for extraction production of energy. Today's summit, inaugurated by Mr. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, is a great conference that gathers around 500 corporations and 47 specialists in the field of energy and gas. It's distinguished this edition is the approachment of the agreement between Egypt and Cyprus of a joint development of Aphrodite field. In addition to the cooperation between the two countries in marketing the gas between Egypt and Cyprus, that would give a good leverage either in the giant beneficiaries between Egypt and Cyprus, and would also enter the natural gas of Cyprus into the liquidation plants and to be pumped in the Egyptian grid of gas. There are agreements that will be announced in the few days to come. There are agreements of 6 world corporations that would have activities in new 5 spots in the Western Desert, in addition to the Suez Gulf. The names of such corporations will be announced within less than 2 weeks. In addition, that several other spots will be offered, and another event of the conference, a roundtable participated by His Excellency Mr. Prime Minister, will address the future of the green hydrogen in the African continent and North of Africa. The activities of the roundtable will be focused basically on the Egyptian and Moroccan experiences. Tonight, also will witness and the first
Okay, sir, what makes this year's edition different from previous ones in terms of focus and participation?
Certainly, the number of the participants and of the 8 editions are the biggest compared to the previous 7s. That makes a great concern of Egypt's convention and exhibitions due to the climate changes and the great space race of the renewable energy and the development of technology of extraction and exploration, as in addition to the competitions of the solid gas or petroleum. Very significant deliberations will be proposed in the upcoming days, along with a great number of specialists that are very specialized in exploring in the Egyptian fields of gas and oil. And also, there are some African countries participated, focusing the clean energy and technologies such as the means of AI in drilling and exploration to decrease the cost. And this is the first time to be discussed in Egypt. Therefore, there is a great benefit for Egypt's side, in addition to the meeting with the biggest world corporation and the presenter of the most sophisticated presentation of drilling and exploration. So this 8th edition
Okay,
is the
sir.
most prominent.
This 8th edition. Sir, can you elaborate on the agreements being signed at the conference, especially those related to natural gas cooperation with Cyprus?
Yes, a memorandum of understanding between Egypt and Cyprus to be signed in developing the Aphrodite field that combine among 3.6 billion cubic meters, or rather trillion cubic feet for the gas, for joint investment between Egypt and Cyprus. And another agreement for the joint marketing of the Cyprus production of Qnews field that produce gas, that will be announced in a few hours to come, to be liquefied in the plants in Damaita and Edco, and then to be marketed to enter the European Union. We all know, approaching the end of Ukrainian-Russian role and the European countries' transformation to other sources of gas, I think such agreements will contribute in a larger scale for the European needs of gas per year. So there are great opportunities of success between Egypt and Cyprus, and in addition to fill the gaps of the needs of gas in Egypt, particularly with the great expansion of industry and its strategic plans. In addition, there are agreements in dealing with the renewable energy, not only for the gas, but they are determined to complete the means of cooperation in the all fields of energy, not just the gas. And
Sir,
the agreement is there is a great concern by Mr. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who met with the Apache Corporation of US, in addition to the Italian company of Eni, and a number of companies that they are very much concerned with the Egyptian market and the participation in such agreement and the exploration bid.
thank you very much, Mr. Azzeddin, for your insights, and we really appreciate your informative knowledge. Back to our news, where the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, has affirmed that the fund will continue to support Egypt's economy in parallel with the implementation of economic reforms. Georgieva highlighted that the progress made by the Egyptian government in implementing the International Monetary Fund mandated reforms is strengthening the country's financial position. She also emphasized that supporting Egypt's economy remains a priority for the International Monetary Fund, reaffirming that the fund's main concern is the country's overall economic condition, while political matters remain outside its scope. The General Authority for Statistics has stated that Saudi Arabia's consumer price index recorded a 2% year-on-year increase in January 2025, up slightly from 1.9% in December 2024. Despite the marginal rise, the kingdom continues to maintain the lowest inflation rate among the G20 nations. On a monthly basis, the consumer price index increased by 0.3% in January 2025 compared to December 2024, with the housing, water, electricity, gas and fuel sector contributing significantly to this increase. Actually, housing rental prices alone increased by 0.3% during this month. Turkey's central bank governor Fatih Karahan has reaffirmed the bank's readiness to respond to risks in its rate-cutting cycle. Speaking at the conference in Saudi Arabia, since December, the bank has cut rates by 250 basis points twice, bringing the policy rate to 45%. Karahan emphasized the monetary policy is not on autopilot, with future moves defending and depending on economic data. He also highlighted global monetary uncertainties, especially in the United States, as a risk for emerging markets, including Turkey. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak has noted that OPEC Plus producers are not considering delaying planned monthly oil supply increase set to begin in April. This contradicts reports suggesting that the group was weighing a postponement despite U.S. calls for lower oil prices. OPEC Plus has been cutting output by 5.85 million barrels per day since 2022. The current plan gradually unwinds 22.2 million BPD of cuts starting in April, with monthly increases lasting until September 2026. A final decision is expected by early March. Moving on to oil prices, were broadly steady on Monday as investors monitored developments over a possible Russia-Ukraine peace deal that could ease the sanctions that have disrupted energy flows, while a weaker dollar and reduced Caspian supply curbed any selling. Brent crude futures edged up to $74.86 a barrel, and U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose to $70 and 94 cents a barrel. Moving on to gold prices, which rose back above $2,900 per ounce on Monday, supported by a weaker dollar and fears of an impending trade war as U.S. President Donald Trump threatens reciprocal tariffs. So spot gold was up 0.5% to $2,896.41, retreating from an intraday high of $2,906.38. It hit a record high of $2,942.70 last week. U.S. gold futures gained 0.3% to $2,909.20. The United States dollar hovered near a two-month low, making bullion less expensive for buyers holding other currencies. Moving on to global markets, where shares witnessed a mixed performance during Monday's trading. Futures for the S&P 500 inched down 0.01%, and futures for the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 0.37%. In Europe, the France's CAC 40 was up 0.24%, Germany's DAX increased 1.25%, Britain's FTSE 100 gained 0.33%. In Asia, Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index dipped 0.02%, while the Shanghai Composite was up 0.27%. The Nikkei 225 rose 0.06%, and the S&P ASX 200 in Australia was down 0.22%. That's all for now. Here's what we wrapped up in today's bulletin. China's Xi calls on private entrepreneurs to drive China's economic growth. Egyptian president inaugurates 8th edition of Egypt's in Cairo. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak says the OPEC Plus not considering delay to planned oil supply increases starting in April. This concludes our economic bulletin for today. Don't forget to follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Qnews EG to stay informed. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more coming up here on Qnews.